Welcome to the final part of Lesson 1 for the Adobe Animate tutorial series. In this lesson, you will learn how to add a layer to your timeline, how to change the perspective of your animation, and you will learn how to use the Scale tool. Let's begin. This is where we left off in the video for part 3 of Lesson 1. We are going to shift from a medium range shot to a long range shot of our border, who will then jump over a ramp. The first thing I want to do is turn off the onion skin tool. Next, I will insert another keyframe to my timeline. We want to place our border at the bottom left hand side of our stage, and then we want to shrink him down. To do this, drag the border to the left, select the Free Transform tool from the toolbar. Then, using the handles in the corners of the box that appears around the character, drag towards the centre of your character. Note that as I'm doing this, I am holding down the left shift key, which keeps the proportion of the character exact. Try experimenting, resizing, holding the shift key and not holding the shift key. Right, now we need some ramps. To do this, we need to create a new layer on the timeline. Clicking the New Layer button will create a new layer with its own separate timeline. Double left click on the name of this layer and call it Ramps. Next, we need to insert a new keyframe so that we can draw our ramps. This keyframe must be at the same position on the timeline as the keyframe with our small skateboarder. I will quickly point out some of the options on the timeline. First, we have the lock icon, which can be used to lock a layer and prevent you from editing images. Next, we have the visibility layer, which can hide or show objects on a layer. Finally, we have the wireframe layer, which makes objects transparent and only shows their outline. Lock the border layer now. When you inserted the keyframe on the ramps layer, you will notice that it is not a solid black circle. Instead, it's an outline. This indicates that it's a blank keyframe and it has no drawing in it yet. So, let's draw our ramps in now. To draw the ramp, I am going to use the Square tool and I'm going to remove the borderline in the properties. Next, I will draw a square where my first ramp is going. Now, we will use the white arrow called the Subselection Tool. This is on the toolbar and we'll use it to manipulate the square. Left clicking on the square with the Subselection Tool will expose 4 corner points. Moving a corner point will change the shape. In this example, I will move the top left corner until I have a ramp shape. Now I want to copy and paste my ramp and move it to the right hand side of the screen. To do this, I left click on my keyframe to highlight the object. I then select Copy from the Edit menu, and on the screen I right click and paste in center. Once I've done this, I'll move this to roughly the position I want the ramp to be in, and then I will select the Free Transform tool again and invert the shape by moving or swapping the middle handles. Now it is time to get animating. The first thing I want to do is unlock the border layer and lock the ramps layer so I don't accidentally edit it. I'm now going to start by inserting a keyframe on my border layer. You will notice that my ramps have disappeared. This is because my ramps are showing on a single frame of the animation only, and this frame is now one before the frame I'm currently on. In order to see the ramps, I'm going to insert a frame, not a keyframe, further down the timeline. This is a guess at the moment as to where it should go and as to how far down the timeline I need it to be. A frame is a non-editable copy of a keyframe. It is used for static backgrounds. I will now turn my onion skin tool back on and adjust it so that it is showing the current frame and the one immediately behind it. Now, using the arrow keys, I will move my border slightly to the right. I will speed up my video until my border reaches the ramp. Now my border is at the ramp, we need to look at how we can rotate him so he travels up the ramp in a natural looking way. To do this, I will move the border slightly into the ramp, then I will check my Free Transform tool is still selected. I advise you to zoom into your stage at this point, as it will make the next steps much easier. Notice the white circle in the centre of our character. This is the pivot point. When rotating, your character will always move around this point. To keep our border's back wheel on the floor whilst our other goes up the ramp, set the pivot point on the back wheel, then rotate the character by hovering just outside the corner points and dragging your mouse. Hopefully, it should look something like this. Now we need to repeat these steps. Insert a keyframe on the border layer, move the character into the ramp, set the pivot point onto the back wheel again, and then rotate the character. I've also made a slight adjustment to my onion skin so that I can see 2 frames behind, which gives me a better idea of how far to move my character. We do this until both wheels are on the ramp. Then we insert keyframes, and with the arrow keys, we move our character a little to the right and a little bit up. Repeat this until your character jumps off the ramp, and use the skills that you've learned to complete the jump. I will speed my video up now until I get to the end. Now it is time to test our movie, so remember, go to the Control menu and select Test. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that you can create something more creative than I've done here. Think about adding some jumps, some spins, maybe trying to put a background in and make it all a little bit more interesting. I look forward to seeing you in Lesson 2. Thanks for watching.